What is going on? Welcome to the, pilot episode of The Mix with Rob Wilkins. This is going to be my own show. Occasionally, Throwback will be here when he can make it, if he's off work like he is today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm happy on vacation, not happy I'll be 40.
Yeah. Tomorrow's a big day, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting old.
Yeah. And what are you doing tomorrow with you're hanging out with friends, right?
Yeah, I'm hanging out with the community at 1 o'clock for a while. Some of my friends are coming over, having cake with me and stuff. And then when they leave, if I'm still up and not on a walker or not hungover or something, I'll probably be on gaming for a while on Twitch. I haven't decided that yet, but it's something different.
Sweet. Well, that's what they're saying that the new 40 is the new 40 is what, the new 25 or something like that. So
I wish.
I don't know if that's what they're saying. I don't know, but that's what I hear. And maybe I'm hearing different. Who knows? But the mix, I'm going to tell you really what it's going to be all about. It's a show for nerds created by a nerd, basically. I'm going to cover everything from like TV, movies, going to talk video games, sports, pretty much like a show for whatever you're interested in, for the most part. I know I will say right now, I love music. I love listening to music, but I don't listen to too much of the newer stuff that's out there. So I probably will rarely talk about music. But if you ever have like any questions, or like if you ask if I like something, I'll definitely tell you. So you can always ask questions in the chat. And basically, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start out with some sports. Have you been reading like any of the news that's been going out there today?
I've saw a post stating in some news outlets believing that Russell Wilson does not want to come to New England at all. If they gave him the option.
Who wants to go to New England?
Oh, come on. You're in Minnesota, dude.
Yeah. Nobody wants to come here either. Nobody wants to come here either. So, but that was a perfect segue, because that's where I was going to start. Going to start with some football. So, in case you're not really familiar with what's going on, Russell Wilson reportedly stormed out of the Seahawks facility, or a meeting with the Seahawks, when his ideas to fix the offense were pretty much dismissed. So he basically left, and then he was pretty upset, I guess. And it came out that he would accept trades to 4 teams. And 4 of those teams are the Las Vegas Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, and the Chicago Bears. Now, I will say this. Russell Wilson is obviously a great player. Do I think trading for Russell Wilson should cost more than trading for Deshaun Watson of the Texans? I don't know. The thing is Watson has excellent stats, and he's young. He's not yet in his prime. He's getting there. He's pretty close to his prime. But he's kind of played with a pretty pathetic offense when you think about it. I mean, he's really only had DeAndre Hopkins. And, I mean, he's had running backs here and there, but nothing, like, consistent. So I'm really curious to know what he would do with a better offense. I mean, they didn't do him any favors when they traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and like a couple picks here and there. But they made it much like worse with the other trade that they did with the and I'm not going to get into that, with the trade they did with the Dolphins. I mean, that pretty much ruined the team right there. But
you also got to remember too that price, that that fucking huge price for Stafford is setting up the market to be ridiculous too, and everybody's expectations are too high.
Yeah, and that's a good that's a good point. I think the Stafford trade was good for LA. I think it was not good for Detroit, but that's nothing new. Detroit's used to not doing smart things when it comes to their football squad. You know,
You,
I mean,
you also got to mention, and I hate to say this, with Detroit, though, the bet there, other than Stafford as a quarterback, the history of amazing players out of Detroit is very, very limited. I mean, after Johnson, just not quarterbacks, excluding that, position players themselves, Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders are the first two
yep,
that comes to mind, beside Herman Moore, that used to be
yeah,
a wide out there.
yeah. And Herman Moore, I mean, he was a good player, but he wasn't on the even close to the caliber as Calvin Johnson. Like, I mean, you got Calvin Johnson's in some people's lists, he's the top five. He's definitely probably top 10 for me for wide receivers. And I think part of that's why he's in the top 10 for me is just because of how dominant he was, but the fact that um, he left Detroit early because of the way they managed that team. You know, he would have still been. I don't know if he'd still be playing right now, but he would have played at least an extra year or two if things in Detroit were different, and he didn't see anything changing, and he was right. Nothing did change for that team, and uh, that's unfortunate for Detroit fans because I know we have a couple of Michigan people that usually tune into like your show, and
Yeah,
um,
it's been taken over. I should change the name to the Michigan Post, because literally it's just Anakin, Ray. If DK's around, which I really want to see DK again, I need help, Rob, with that show. If you can help, that'd be a great
yeah,
one.
well, I'd like to, but I got AEW Dark, which that might actually help pretty soon because AEW Dark's going to be going to um, maybe an hour pretty soon. So if that happens, I'd be able to probably jump on. So that would be a good thing. But the thing about like the Watson trade, if he does get traded, supposedly Houston has not been listening to trade offers, which I find rather weird. Why would you not listen to trade offers? So it's reported that they're not, but that doesn't make any sense to me. You always listen. You don't have to do anything, but you can at least listen. You know.
They probably value him a lot better at quarterback than half the quarterbacks in the league. I mean, Brady just won a Super Bowl in his 40s, and Aaron Rodgers is still going. Drew Brees is up in the air, and obviously, Derek Carr is in the win, and everybody's going to laugh at me like, "Oh, it's Derek Carr." You put Derek Carr in a Patriot in Josh McDaniels thing, and there he is. You got a Super Bowl. The one quarterback name that's intriguing me is Jimmy Garoppolo, because of the fact that his situation's up in the air right now. So, like, having Watson, having Texas not even taking any listens, it's just ridiculous.
And the thing about Garoppolo, I don't necessarily. He's somebody I don't know if I would trade a lot for. But I still think he's a good quarterback, and I think he still has a lot of potential. But there's been a lot of rumors just up here, like in Minnesota, that the Vikings might be up for trading Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins would probably go to San Francisco because of his history with who's the coach there? I forgot his name. It's
I don't pay attention to West Coast football for the most part, just the players.
Man, I can't believe I forgot his name, and usually I'm really good at that. But I could see like somebody like Garofalo coming to Minnesota like in a trade like that, and Kirk Cousins, because the reason I bring that up is because of Kirk Cousins' value right now. He's gonna thank you, Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan. I knew his dad was a coach. I just couldn't remember which one. I was like, yeah, it's not. But anyways, yeah. So if the Vikings were to trade Cousins, they would only be doing it because of like for financial reasons. Um, I mean, Kirk Cousins had a hell of a year last year. If you go look at stats, um, they were really good. Vikings offense, I think, was number 4th in the league. It's their defense is what killed them. But anyways, I went off topic with the Russell Wilson trade. Um, I think Russell Wilson leaving the Seahawks is very interesting if it happens. This it's I'm not putting it on a Brady level, but it's right underneath for me. I mean, I never pictured Tom Brady leaving, and I know you are okay with Tom Brady and Robert Gronkowski leaving Tampa or leaving New England for Tampa. I know you're a big fan of that. So
I think in the community sense with Brady, it hurt New England and Gronk hurting it. But I think going forward, it might be like one of those things you take 2 steps back and you make a step forward. And I think Cam was like one of those things this year was just like a button thing. I think they were 100% right on Garoppolo. I really thought like if they kept him, they could have been there against Brady this year. And that's huge because that's their homegrown talent. That's showing Bill got it right. And even though he's been injured most part in San Francisco, it still shows that Bill got it right. With Wilson, basically, if he leaves Seattle, who can replace him?
Yeah,
like think about it. He's their franchise quarterback. It's and the best way I can quote is picture, and this is me dating myself. Picture the Patriots trading Drew Bledsoe in his prime to San Francisco for like a 1st-round pick. And I'm talking about the year before they went to the Super Bowl against the Packers. That would literally set them even further back. There wouldn't be an 0-1 Super Bowl. There wouldn't be any of this stuff. But it's the same thing. They're going to, if they get rid of Wilson, it's going to set them back at least another 10 years trying out quarterbacks and stuff like that just to push it over.
It definitely could. I mean, the thing with the NFL, you never know. Like, I mean, you can hit the jackpot with the draft pick and occasionally, but like going back to the Watson like trade, like I was thinking, like if you went to a team like the Cowboys, like if the Cowboys don't re-sign Dak for some reason, I like you look at the offense that Watson has had in Houston, and you compare it to the offense like if he could have with the Cowboys. I mean, granted, Ezekiel Elliott had a setback year. He didn't have the best year, but he could bounce back and have a great year the next year. And Elliott would be the best running back that Watson has had. Plus, you add like the rookie going into his 2nd year, CeeDee Lamb, who had a great year. It wasn't as good as the Vikings' Justin Jefferson, but he still had a really good year. Plus, you had Amari Cooper.
I was just going to say that.
And the Cowboys' offensive line should be better. And if the Cowboys can get themselves a good tight end, that'll help them out, and that would be an intriguing trade.
I think the one name that's out there that's a game changer that's not a quarterback, and obviously we're going to talk about it right now, I might just bring it up, is J.J. Watt. Because that he has so many options and stuff. Like I could tell you people for fantasy-wise that I've talked to around here are clamoring him to be in New England just to have him in a Belichick defense, letting him go crazy like they did with Kyle Van Noy and stuff like that.
Oh man, that goes back to the Detroit like Lions when they got rid of Kyle Van Noy. I remember like thinking, what are the Lions doing? That guy is a stud. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Like, yeah. Oh, I knew it right away. I was like, plus you put him in New England's system. Oh, that was dumb and good for you guys, but it just goes back to Detroit, and it's just one of those things where the Lions do Lions things. And going back to Watson, like if or Russell Wilson now, him going to a team like the Saints would be very dangerous, I think, for
Oh yeah,
because
it would be a
you add
game
him with that
changer.
offense, man. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. If the Seahawks end up trading Wilson, I think obviously he's still a great quarterback, and it would be weird, like just like it would be Brady to see him in a different uniform. But we know things change, right?
Well, the other thing is that if, let's say, hypothetically, Wilson goes, do you bring somebody who could do the same skill set as Wilson, like, a Marcus Mariota maybe, or somebody that's out there that's on wants to be on a 1-year deal? Hell, I'll even throw his name hyperbolically, just for example. Let's just say, throw this name: Cam Newton goes to Seattle. I mean, on a 1-year deal like he did with New England. If New England, let's say, gets Garoppolo or somebody that fits their system a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I definitely could. I would. I know I would rather have Garoppolo than Cam Newton, but well, like for either one of my teams, like if I was a Patriots fan or a Seahawks fan, I think I'd want that. Cam Newton, he's still a good quarterback by all means, but I don't know, man. He last year wasn't the best, and yeah, it's just one of those things. And while I'm about to move on to baseball, I just wanted to also add one thing. This is more of a shout out for Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray recently donated 60,000 meals to the North Texas Food Bank due to the winter storm that hit last week. So shout out to Kyler Murray for doing that. That's something you don't have to do by any means. And 60,000, that is usually like when they do, like when you buy meals in bulk like that, they usually range from about $3 to $4 per meal. So, I mean, that's about 180,000 if it's $3, so very, very cool of him to do that. For something he doesn't have to do. And granted, he has the money, but he didn't have to do that. And that's what makes what he did so much better, I think. That's really good of him.
I have step family in Georgia, and when it snowed there, like like in Atlanta, remember how it snowed like in the South pretty badly for for a little while? They kept texting me, "What do we do? What do we do?" I'm like, "You get a shovel, you start digging." They're like, "Well, we're not used to this." I'm like, "Well, welcome to New England. This is how it is almost every day."
Well, years ago when they had the Super Bowl in Atlanta and they dealt with snow and freezing rain, that pretty much shut the city down, and that's exactly what happened in Texas, like Dallas, Houston, Austin. I mean, that's plus the electricity thing didn't help. But it's
I'm glad for somebody doing something good in a community after something like that's happened to that area and stuff. But I'm also going to be sarcastic from where you and me are from in the northern part of the countries, where it's like, okay, that meme that people see about New England people, that's true. We would literally walk through just to go get a coffee and literally dust off and sit there and drink it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Not obviously, like I was born in Texas. I lived in Texas for 11 years, and I saw snow maybe twice, 2 or 3 times in that I can remember, and it was one of those things where if you're not used to it and you don't know what to do, and you can't fault, like, and I know what you're saying. You're not faulting anybody because obviously they don't know, and now to an extent they do, but they're still not set up for it, and really it's one of those things where you really can't set up for it. I mean, they could have been better prepared. Like the state could have been better prepared from an electricity standpoint. But anyways, we'll move on to baseball. So spring training just started last week, and I'll be primarily doing a baseball show too. And I just wanted to bring this up that Bryce Harper said in an interview with USA Today that the NL East, National League East division, will be a juggernaut this year. And I looked over the teams within the past couple of weeks, and I will say right now he is right. That NL East division. 4 out of the 5 teams could easily win that division. And I'll start with the Nationals. They have a young team. They have Juan Soto. They have Trey Turner, Victor Robles. I don't know how you say his name. I've heard it so many different times on ESPN. So I apologize for that. They traded for Josh Bell. They signed Kyle Schwarber from the Cubs. They have an excellent young team. They're getting Steven Strasburg back. Max Scherzer kind of had he's taken a dip recently, play wise, but he's still a good guy, still a good player.
He's a phenomenal pitcher.
Yeah, you'd want him in your top 5 for sure. So they have a hell of a team. Plus they have a very young third baseman in Carter Kieboom, who I think is going to be a stud. He's just going to get better. And then we move on to the Atlanta Braves. They got Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, who I think was MVP last year in the National League, Dansby Swanson, who's still young and pretty good player, obviously. They re-signed Marcelo Ozuna, I believe. Plus their Max Fried, their ace. He had a good year. He's a good pitcher. And then Mike Soroka is their second guy. Plus, they signed Charlie Morton, who was probably Tampa's best pitcher in the playoffs last year. And so you got a veteran. He's from Atlanta, I believe. So he's probably going to be a pretty happy guy and play pretty good. And then you got the Mets. They traded for Francisco Lindor, which is good for me. They got him out of the AL Central, so I don't have to worry about him. And that's good for Boston, too, if you look at it. I know you're a Red Sox guy.
And a Braves guy.
Yeah, and that means you don't have to worry about Lindor for at least, 7 or 8 games that you don't have to play him, so that's a good thing. Yeah. The Mets have Pete Alonso, who's a stud. Ahmed Rosario, did they trade him? Is that the guy they traded? No, they still have him. I couldn't remember who they traded for a second. You have James McCann, who will be a catcher for the team. He's a veteran, good player. Marcus Stroman they added, or he stayed. He re-signed, but he's still a good pitcher. Jacob DeGrom, and they will get Noah Syndergaard back. Plus, their new owner, Steve Cohen, he is spending money. He is building that team, and people are excited in New York. The next team, and I don't know if Ron Patel is a Marlins fan, but what I pretty much have listed for the Marlins is, they're the Miami Marlins. I don't expect anything from them this year. They're young. They haven't done much, in my opinion. So we move on to
it's like when Ron's like, "Oh, we have the Marlins here. Where you and me are just like, well, how's this?" That's a sad part about baseball down there. It's not huge. I mean, it should be with the demographic they have down there, but it's not.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about the reason it took so long to get baseball teams into Florida was because they didn't know how attendance would be. And if you go look at Marlins baseball, unless they're in the playoffs, and the Rays baseball team, attendance isn't that good. It never has been.
Well, with COVID, the only attendance in Florida for any of baseball stadiums used, if you exclude AEW, has been WWE because, man, they've been packing those fans in there. Have you seen that place?
Yeah, well, I mean, NFL wise, the Jaguars, they're another team like that doesn't like. It looks like they have empty seats all the time at their games. Tampa, like if COVID wasn't here, Tampa would be fine. They would be fine. Miami does really well too. I mean, there's been times though where Miami got blacked out because they didn't have a sellout. So that was a few years ago, probably like 5 or 10 years ago since that's happened. But
the only time they've never been blacked out, and it's sad, is when the Pats were down there or some major team that was close into the playoffs was down there.
Yeah. So I'll finish with the Phillies. So they got Bryce Harper, who obviously he's a great player. They re-signed the catcher JT Remoto. He's a stud. He's probably the best catcher in the National League, in my opinion. They have Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is just getting better. He's still a young pitcher, and he's just going to be getting better. So they got him. So the NL East is loaded. It's going to come down to the Mets, Braves, or Nationals, in my opinion, and I'm leaning more towards the Braves. But like I said, it would not surprise me, though, if any of those teams win, and it would not surprise me if with one team winning the division, it wouldn't surprise me if 2 of the other teams in the division are the wild cards. That's how stacked that division is. And I know it'll be interesting to see with how teams start out and how they do towards the end to finish the series or the season. I'm really anticipating the NL East to be the best division to watch this year. What do you think about these teams in the East?
Oh, that place is stacked. The NL East is completely stacked top to bottom. It's ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if the Braves come out of that division and get hot run on the playoffs. But the better question is that in the National League as a whole is what matchup would be good for any of those teams? Because the only team I could think of other than Sean Ross's Sap Cincinnati Reds, man, is the Padres. And if that team, as much as they were spending left and right, is built on and done right, they could be a threat. Now, that whole division in the East for the National League is ridiculously good. And no matter, if it's the Braves, the Mets, the Phillies, the Nats, I mean, those 4 teams, if they were in different leagues, in divisions, it would be over. So, say a good example, you take, Toronto out and you put Toronto, sorry for everybody, including Aaron, and you put them in a National League side of the NL East, and you move the Phillies over to the American League East, you could literally say the Phillies would just constantly come out for years, for a while, to come out of that, because it would be the Phillies and the Yankees both in the AL East going back and forth. They would be a logjam.
And I would add Boston in there once they fully rebuild.
Yeah.
Or whatever they're doing. But so we'll move on.
It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, cool. No, I definitely agree. This season for the NL East is going to be fun to watch. Moving on, I only have one thing about the NBA, and it's really nothing big. Kyrie Irving came out, I believe, yesterday or the day before, saying that the NBA should change their logo from Jerry West, who is the silhouette, of their logo, and they should go with Kobe Bryant. Now, I love Kobe. I love Kobe Bryant. He side topic. His shoes are the only ones I wear, like of Nike. Um, they're the same shoes I bought over the past 4 or 5 years. I'm a huge Kobe guy, um, and I do like the idea, but my thing is, if you ever change it from Jerry West, I honestly think it should go to Jordan, if anything,
Yeah.
because Jordan changed Jordan changed the game. Like he made it the number two sport for a long time, like after football. Um, and he's the most popular athlete probably or was in the world um, at one time, and if now I will say if it's not Jordan, it should be Kobe Bryant. I think. But and Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's who was Kobe's wife, is she's his or widow, um she's on board with it, but it's one of those things where the NBA, that's obviously up to them and their ownership and team ownership. But I don't know. I don't know. Like I think I do think in an extent, and Jerry West has been on the record that he's okay with them changing it, but he thinks it should be Michael Jordan. Um, so what do you think? Do you think they should keep what they have? If they do move it or change it, uh, would you have it be Jordan or Bryant, or is there somebody else you'd put in there?
There's somebody you didn't even mention, and yes, this is a homer pick. I'd keep, as much as I hate LA and stuff like that being from this area, I would keep Jerry West on there. That's an iconic thing. If you say the NBA logo, that's the first thing people will actually point out, that part. And that's been on there for years. But if you had to change it, I wouldn't pick Jordan. I wouldn't pick Kobe. I wouldn't pick LeBron. The person that should be on there, other than West, was the most dominant center of his generation that nobody says anything about. Yeah, Tim, it's not Larry Bird. And he transcended and changed an entire culture in the era. And he was the first ever player coach in NBA history. He was a 9 times world champion. He literally changed the game to where, there are certain rules in the rule book that are now implied. It's just like ridiculous. And it should be Bill Russell. And like he started doing blocks, and then now we have goaltending. Goaltending. You know what I mean? Just a block in the basket counts for it. Block the shot and it's a foul or whatever. He won 9 champions. He was the first player coach champion to win a title. He changed the dynamic of the city of Boston and culture of basketball in general because of the fact that he made an entire era more focused on defense than offense, and it changed it. The numbers are there. The titles are there. He has more titles than Jordan does. He has more titles than Kobe does. He has everything. If you need to change the NBA logo, it should be, and I've been with this for a lot of people who have said this for years, even traditionalists, it should be Bill Russell.
Oh, well, the only problem about that is, if anything, they're looking at going towards the future, or not towards the future. They're looking for something. I think they would go with more in the present, before they go like to the past again. You know what I mean? That's I understand where you're coming from. Bill Russell, obviously is one of the greatest players of all time, and some people have him at the top of that. They have him ranked higher than Jordan. I personally don't, but I could see that. By all means, I could definitely see that. Moving on from the NBA, I have nothing for hockey this week. It's been rather quiet in the NHL. The only thing I will say is last week's their games in at Lake Havasu, those were a disaster because of weather. Now, um, they really need to kind of move on from the noon games, like for the outdoor games. They really need to move away from noon. They should go with a 3 or 4 o'clock start. That way the sun is starting to um, not be as effective like in the winter. So um, I think they need to change their ways, like especially if they're doing these outdoor games out west. Um, I had a feeling when I first heard they were going to Lake Havasu, I was kind of like, man, they're going to have a delay, at least a couple of delays, is what I thought, and I was right on the money. So that's really the only thing I have for the NHL this week. It's been kind of a boring week for them, but we'll go ahead and move on to movies. So, Cinema Blend, they listed their top 10 horror movies, and I don't get me wrong, they have some excellent movies in there, but I don't agree with all of them. Their top 10. So I even did a top 10 of my list, and but I'll go over their first list, and I don't know if you've seen some of these. Are you a horror fan?
Kinda. It all depends. I used to date somebody that literally would punish me when I did something wrong. Instead of getting into a fight, made me sit down and watch horror movies because I hated it. And it kind of wore off because she realized, oh crap, he likes it.
And before I do forget, I was just thinking about it when I saw it. Ray Callahan mentioned that he would like to see Watson with Denver. That would be interesting. Like he says, you add Watson into the NFL or AFC West, and he's facing Pat Mahomes twice a year. That would be interesting. Very interesting, especially if they get if the Raiders, let's just say the Raiders did trade for Russell Wilson, and then you have Watson in the West as well. 3 of those quarterbacks, just plus Herbert, is it Herbert or Habert? It's got to be Herbert. For the Chargers, oh my God, that's 4 amazing quarterbacks in the West. But moving on, so. Cinema Blend has at number 10, they have the movie Audition, which came out in 1999. It's a Japanese horror. The movie is very weird, and it was fantastic, but it's one of those films that if you go into it, you need to go into it not knowing the exact premise of the movie, and that will make it so much better. That's how, when I watched it, that's how I was told to go into it. Don't look into the movie, don't find out what it's about, just watch it. And that's a movie I could definitely say, just watch it. Don't go looking at see what it's about. It makes it that much better. At number 9, they have The Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
A classic. I love it. Absolutely one of my favorites. It's directed by Jonathan Demme, who they won the Best Picture in 1991. The 2 main actors you can't go wrong with, Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster. Amazing actors, really good. I think the person that doesn't get enough recognition in the film is Ted Levine. He's the guy that played Buffalo Bill, and he played that role perfectly. And he's a very underrated actor. He's been in other films such as like Heat, American Gangster, Ali, just to name a few. He's been in so many movies, but he's such a good actor. So The Silence of the Lambs definitely is up there. I love that film. At number 8, they have Psycho, the classic from Alfred Hitchcock. Now, have you seen any of these movies that I mentioned?
I've seen Silence of the Lambs. I didn't consider it as a horror film. I considered that as a thriller almost.
I've
seen bits and pieces of Psycho, but also the remake was the
remake was god awful.
If there's certain horror movies that I like that people are going to be like, if once I mention the names, you're going to be like, well,
no, I get that. So I don't know if I just I did say Psycho. Um, at number 7, they have the classic from George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. Um,
Yeah.
that can be up there. One that I don't agree with is they have Nosferatu from 1922 listed in there. Now, the one thing I'll say about that movie is overrated. Um, it is a classic, yes, but it's way overrated. Um, and if you hate me for that, I'm sorry, but it is. It is overrated. Um, Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974,
Yes.
Leatherface. Enough said. Leatherface is one of the scariest um, characters in all of horror movies. And plus he's such like an iconic uh, uh, character. He's in the new Mortal Kombat game too.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, you got that. They have Ridley Scott's Alien at number 4, classic film, obviously. But I think
For
Alien
me, that would be sci-fi.
Yeah, it's still scary though, or a horror flick. Yeah, and I agree. It's scary, like in a sci-fi way, but some people still consider it a horror film. In my opinion, Aliens, which was the sequel from James Cameron, was a much better movie in my opinion. Or I shouldn't say much better. It was better. It wasn't like way over the it didn't change my perception of Alien. It was a better film, Aliens, from James Cameron. At number 3, they have Jaws. This movie is obviously a classic. It's changed people's perception of like everything, like from the ocean. People wouldn't go into the water for a while. John Williams, who did the soundtrack and created the classic theme, makes that movie amazing, obviously.
So intense.
Yeah.
It's that song, the theme track, like that song, that theme he did is like, like Star Wars. It's like once you hear that first note, you know where it's going.
Oh, for sure. At number 2, they have The Exorcist, which obviously creepy as hell, and the premise is terrifying. Fun fact: I think my ex is a demon, and I think she would be perfect if they ever do the remake. Again. I've seen her head spin around like that. Yeah. So, at number 1, The Shining, Jack Nicholson. Classic film. It's a film that still makes me not want to walk down a hallway at a hotel by myself. I'm convinced, and I can honestly say on record, I have gone down a hallway and seen 2 twins around the same age, and I freaked out, dude. I literally got off my floor and walked away. It takes a lot for me to do that. Yeah, and that was real when I saw the 2 twins. That definitely was real. Now, my list. Now, I did an honorable mention. I had Mid-Summer with Florence Pugh. She will be on the upcoming Marvel Studios film Black Widow. She played Paige in the biopic film from like The Rock, like his production team, the
Fighting with My Family. That was good.
So she's a great actress. She's up and coming. But I'll go ahead and go over my list real quick and tell me if you've seen any of these. I have at number 10, I have The Exorcist. It was definitely creepy, definitely scary, but it's one of those things where it didn't do as much to me as it has done to others.
It terrified me because my cousins would literally push me against the TV and be like, "You need to watch this." And no, I was 3 years old and they got mad at me for crying. So I just no.
Yeah, no, I get that. At number 9, I have John Carpenter's The Thing with Kurt Russell. Absolutely love that movie. It's like I said, it's in the top 10 for me. I have The Shining at number 8. Uh, Classic film, obviously. Silence of the Lambs for me I consider it a horror classic, and I'm going to tell you why, because of the effect it had on me. Um, when that movie came out, I actually saw it like once it hit video. I remember we rented it. My parents were always good, like they always let me rip like movies because they knew like I was okay. Like I wasn't gonna it wouldn't mess me up too much, like like it would other kids. But this one did mess me up a little bit because I was 9 years old. I had no idea, no clue what serial killers were at 9 years old, which is a good thing. So I learned about serial killers at a very young age, so that's great. And then I also learned about cannibalism at that age. So my mind was completely messed up. So if you go, so like that part about where it's not a horror film, it was a horror film for me because of the effect that it had on me after I watched that movie. I was 9 years old. I wasn't at that age where I was still trying to sleep with my parents, but I slept on the floor that night in their room. I slept on the floor. I said, hell with it. But I was fine the next day, but that movie had a big effect on my life. So at number 6, I have A Quiet Place, which is a newer movie. I think what made this such a good horror flick for me, and I see where some people would say it's either a horror or it's a thriller. I have it as a horror because it's one of the very few movies that I had to check my shorts after I was done with it, because it's so quiet, and then all of a sudden when something happens, just it's just crazy. Love that movie. Directed by John Krasinski from The Office, and who plays Jack Ryan. Just love the guy. His wife Emily Blunt's the main actress in it. At number 5, I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Again, Leatherface, just his character is just amazing. At number 4, I have another movie that's newer, Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele. It's a terrifying movie, and it tells you that you should always prepare for your in-laws to be nuts or potential in-laws. So that's a spoiler alert for you. So that one's number 4 for me. And number 3, I have Hereditary, which is another new film. That movie, I stopped watching it and I started watching it the next day, in the daytime with the lights on, with the blinds up. No, it wasn't the Jessica Biel version, but that is a very good one too. I went with the original in 1974, but a lot of people actually think that one with Jessica Biel was actually scarier. Some do. I don't. I think part of this is because I was at a young age when I watched a lot of these. At number 2, I have Jaws, obviously classic film. Enough said about that. And at number 1, I have Disney's Aladdin. No, I'm kidding. I have Halloween. Yeah.
So, you were gonna put Finding Nemo on there, weren't you? Just like how scary that fish and freaking Dory goes back around.
What's funny is I actually thought about putting that on there, but I went with Aladdin instead. I thought it'd be funny to go with that, but no. Halloween, classic film, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then you have the my favorite theme from any movie, Halloween. John Carpenter, just outstanding. You just can't go wrong with that film. Are there any movies that I listed there that do you have any favorite ones, just really quick?
There's some that I'm surprised that wasn't even on there. The original Amityville Horror wasn't on there, but the remake they did with Ryan Reynolds, which is really good, that should have been on there. House of 1,000 Corpses wasn't on there. Devil's Rejects wasn't on there. there's a movie on that should be on there. It's considered a thriller, but it really is kind of like horror for me. Is David Caruso? You know, the guy who played NCIS Miami.
Is it Session 9?
Yes.
Yeah.
That movie is insane. And then for a thriller / horror, it's more so like a mind twist, like a mind screw. Memento is the way it starts, the way to the end, and you're finding out that the guy who's looking for his wife is the guy who did it, and they show how graphic it is. But I mean but the ones that I was just more shocked was like, okay, well, where's Amityville Horror? That's a movie everybody knows. House of 1,000 Corpses. Where was that?
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. There's so many movies.
The Session 9, along with House of 1,000 Corpses, would definitely be in my top 20. Amityville Horror, I would probably put the sequel, the remake with Ryan Reynolds, above the original, like you. And that might be in my top 20. So those are good. And the remake with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the one with Jessica Biel in it, that one would be in my top 20. That movie was great, but it's just not in my top 10. But a House of 1,000 Corpses almost made this list. It's probably at number 12 for me because I had 11. I had Midsummer at number 11 for my honorable mention. If you haven't seen I call it Midsummer. It might be Midsummer or something like that. I don't know. But it freaked me out. I'll just say that. But yeah, it's House of 1,000 Corpses messed me up, but it was so ridiculous.
I've seen all days Logan's. House of 1,000 Corpses was demented. I feel like I needed a shower after I left the theater. I was enthralled in it. I was just like, okay, what happened? Who did this? What happened in this? And it also helps that with eye candy wise for a guy, you have Rob Zombie's wife in it.
Yeah. No, I get that. She's a quite a looker. So, yeah, those are those flicks. Moving on from like the horror flicks, just like some recent news. Tom Holland just came out recently that he they announced a new movie. They announced a new title of the new Spider-Man movie coming out in December. It's called No Way Home. Is going to be the title of the third standalone film for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But the good thing about that is, yes, he's out of contract, but he hasn't re-signed because he wants to take a break, which he deserves. He's done 6 Marvel movies almost in a row when you think about it, like every other year. And plus, he's filmed other movies, so he just wants to take a break. But he plans on coming back for more, and he deserves a break by all means. He definitely deserves a break. So he says he'll be back. He'll do as many as he can. He loves doing them, but he just wants a break. And he said, and I'm going to read the quote that he exactly said to the USA Today, or USA Today printed anyways, he said, "I'm going to take a break and travel the world. It's the first time since I've signed on for Spider-Man Homecoming that I don't have a contract with someone. I might go skiing because that's something I've never really been allowed to do because it's obviously a dangerous sport. I've been very careful over the years, which is why I become obsessed with golf because it's the only sport I can play without getting injured." So that's cool. You know, he's still at a young age where he can, he should be able to do this. He should be able to go out and play some sports and take a little break. And then he'll get right back at it, you know? So I think that's good. Good for him. I'm really excited. There's rumors that he'll still have a cameo or something in the new Venom flick that's coming out later on this year. So I'm cool with this. I really am. I think it's awesome that he's taking a break. If it was up to me, we would get a new Spider-Man movie every month, but it's not. So that's good for him. Do you like the the Spider-Man films?
I own the Sam Raimi ones. I own the Andrew Garfunkel
Andrew Garfield?
one. The two of them that he did. I own digitally the first two. I can't wait to
Yeah.
see this one. For me, for him as an actor, the one I'm more curious about is the Alan Wake movie, the one from the video game that he just finished.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do and where they go and where the Sony Marvel contract is at that point. Because of the fact that Sony still owns the rights. It's not something like where Fox basically handed over the entire Spider universe if Fox had it to Marvel and Disney. It's completely different. So you never know. They might bring him into the Sony Spider-Verse again and stuff like that. But there could be a possibility once he comes back that they might break into an actual live action version of the Spider-Verse kind of thing where they did with the cartoon, and everybody's clamoring for Miles Morales. So why that would make so much sense having all three Peter Parkers in, and then Miles Morales in one and Gwen Stacy in one.
Yeah. I agree with that sentiment for sure. Just finishing out the entertainment side of the show. It's been announced that Amazon Prime, they are setting up for a new show that they haven't named the title of it yet, but it's Lady J from G.I. Joe. They're going to do a standalone series for her, live action. It's going to be played by I forgot her name, Adrian Pilecki. She was in George, thank you. She was in John Wick. She's been in a ton of things like Heroes. But they are going to be doing a live action series, or at least they're planning on it. I grew up a huge G.I. Joe fan, so I love this idea. And I'm excited for it. That I can definitely say.
You know what movie I'm hoping they do from if you're going to create like something like a cartoon TV movie series kind of thing is Heroes, because there's so many characters from that TV show you could adapt into a current movie. It's ridiculous, but they're not going to do it. That would be awesome though if they did.
Yeah. So they got that eventually coming out. I mean, that's the thing about when TV shows get like in development. They announce them and they do them, but until they actually start filming, it's one of those things where you just kind of hope it works out. And I do love that they're going to do a standalone series. I know they were talking about doing a Storm Shadow movie. I don't know if they ever started production on that, but they plan on doing a Snake Eyes movie, which I love that idea. Obviously, Snake Eyes is just a badass, and and then so I'm pretty much almost done with this show, but I just wanted to kind of just say this is a pilot episode. Basically, it's just kind of to get my feet wet hosting a show. I'm gonna go back and watch and see what I could do better, but I'm gonna have a segment at the end of like each show telling you what I'm watching, and I'll start today with that. What I'm watching this weekend. I know not everybody's gonna be the same way I am, but I grew up on Tom and Jerry, so the new Tom and Jerry movie has hit HBO Max. I will be watching that. I love Tom and Jerry. They are my guys, and I'm
the girl
excited
from
to watch
Kick-Ass
that.
is in it too.
Yeah, yep, and Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live, and who was in WrestleMania a year or two ago. He's in it. So I'm excited to watch this. So that's one movie I'll be watching. As far as like TV series, I am going to be watching. I'm a little late because I don't like watching shows like every week. I like doing like the binge type thing. So I'll be watching The Undoing on HBO. So I'm excited for that. As far as like video games go, the only thing I'm playing right now is I'm playing NHL 21. I plan on moving on to I forgot the name of the game. I'm gonna go back to see. I'm like with video games. I kind of start playing, then I take a break for a long time. But I'm
Yeah.
planning on going back to Red Dead Redemption. Playing that. I've had it on my shelf forever. I just haven't played it much. So I'll be playing a little of that this weekend. I know you're having a busy weekend, but I know you have Hulu. I believe, or at least you did.
I still do.
Okay. So is there anything that you're watching, or what are you playing these days, video game wise?
Well, me and Anakin started doing on the Twitch channel that I have that I don't use that often. I got halfway through Gears and I got stuck on a section, and then Jedi Fallen Order came out, and I just went right through that. So now I've been playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and I got to a point at the end of the story, and the DLCs are out and stuff. But I wanted to get back into Gears, so I figured why not use the co-op campaign mode, and me and Anakin are going to be doing that off and on. TV wise, I just finished all 4 series, and I'm an anime fan of My Hero Academia, which was a huge undertaking because that's literally about 50 episodes per season. So now I'm in the midst of watching Black Clover. It has 51 episodes, but on Crunchyroll they go to 115. So I think Hulu kind of chops it up and stuff. My taste goes sporadic between anime and all that stuff, so long as it has a good run. I'm waiting to find out when The Witcher comes out soon. That's going to be an awesome season, it looks like. Everybody laughs at me at this title, but Sex Education, it has Gillian Anderson and the kid from Hugo. It's
that
kind of like
hilarious.
It's like a British, satire kind of thing. It's like the British version of Kids, not the American version that MTV had. But it's just so good. The first scene comes in, and you're just like, I can't believe they're showing this on Netflix.
It's a hilarious show. I definitely recommend that show too.
And then just stuff, odds and ends and stuff. So obviously with wrestling, we all watch that. But I mean, there's certain movies I'm waiting on to watch and stuff like that. I still haven't seen the Mulan movie on Disney Plus. I've watched like one episode of WandaVision. I decided to wait till the end of the series and just binge watch that because Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think, is coming out in the end of March. So, because they're going to release them consecutively. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So just to wrap up the show, this is just kind of like a pilot episode, like a pilot episode. Next week, I actually consider the first episode. I'm gonna go back and watch the show and try to see what I can change. I know we were on sports for about 30 minutes, and my goal was for about 15 to 20. So basically, this is just a first tryout, or not tryout, but it's just kind of something I wanted to try first. I wanted to roll it out. But I'll go ahead and say next week on the episode, I plan on previewing AEW's Revolution pay-per-view. I plan on I will talk a little wrestling. I plan on talking about WandaVision. So there's going to be like different topics next week. I'll talk a little sports. This is just going to be like the show title says, it's the mix. I'm going to talk about different things. I'm going to try to get more video game talk in there. And this again is just kind of like I just wanted to watch this. I wanted to give myself a try, see what, just to see how it went. If there's, like I said, I won't talk about music much because I don't follow a lot of new music. I know Daft Punk split up this past week, and I know a lot of people are sad about that. I'm like, hey, they have good music, but yeah, that's how I am with music. I'm not Jeremy Lambert or just Denise Salcedo with like Taylor Swift, like pop stuff. I couldn't tell you what. I'm always late to the party with music. I mean, I'm still listening to like Foo Fighters, like stuff all the time, like their greatest hits album. That's pretty much on repeat in my car, you know. So again, this is just kind of like just kind of like a soft launch. I just kind of wanted to do a show to see how it was. I can't stand watching myself, but I will go back and watch this. I plan on paying attention to chat more. But I just want to say thank you for tuning in, at least giving me the opportunity. Hopefully, it's not going to make you run and scream and like, oh, that was awful. My goal is to get better every week. And, you know, I just want to say I appreciate everybody who watched today or who might watch later. And Throwback, thanks for starting this channel. And if you are wanting to try to do your own show, definitely email us and let us know. We'll give you a shot for sure. I mean, if we know you, we're not just gonna look at an email and say, "Hey, the Prince of Nigeria wants to try a show." We're not gonna do that. But
well, if he's
like,
the Prince of Nigeria, he needs to pony up.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like when you get those emails that, but we're just gonna we want to know, at least know who you are before we give you just throw the reins at you. But like if there's a show you want to do, we'll give you that opportunity. And this network, that this channel rather, is something that was Throwback's idea from the start, and it's a way for him and us to give give everybody a voice to be able to go on a channel. Even if you want to try out, if you're thinking about doing your own show but you don't know if you want to, give it a try here, you know. Give it a chance. But I'm going to talk about a little of everything. I will say now, I like with this show, The Mix, I will probably not ever talk about like the news per se. I won't talk politics on this show. I will rarely, if ever, talk about like headline news, like something that's going on. I mean, I might mention something, but this will not be a political show by any means. It's just going to be an entertainment show. I mean, you don't go into you don't watch Sports Center for politics. You don't watch Entertainment Tonight. If you do, for that stuff, like this is just going to be a way for you to get your mind off things. And the goal is to have fun. And I'm going to talk about everything. I'm going to talk about things I'm into. I'm going to talk about baseball cards, which I collect. I'm going to talk about that sometime. It's just going to be a wide variety of stuff. And if you ever have anything you want me to talk about, or if you have any ideas, you can always ask a question in chat, or you can send me an email. But I just want to say again, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to watch. And my goal is just to get better and make this show more interactive as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Throwback, and he can, if he has any mentions. I will say real quick, when I'm not doing like this podcast, you can catch me on Twitter at Rob Wilkins, ROBWILKINS. It should be scrolling down below. Also on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I cover AEW. I do live coverage for Fightful. I don't know if that's going to be changing with their new Monday show. I don't know if I'll be doing all 3 days. If they make them each 1 hour, like the Monday and the Wednesday show, I probably will do it. But I just want to say like that. And I do write about sports occasionally. I haven't written much, but I'm also on shootingthesportish.com. And that's a show that might actually or a website that they're kind of making more digital, like as far as like doing clips and shows. So that might be something we do, but I will try to do those shows on here. And then if anything move them over, like, or have them on both channels type thing. I'm not sure what we're gonna do there, but again,
The plan is like a lot of the recordings that you can save on desktop from YouTube. We're going to be going back and forth on my channel, this channel, and then it'll a lot of the stuff will be, and then a lot of the specialist stuff we'll be doing on this channel will probably be like, instead of doing a WWE draft like we did on my channel, this channel will have draft coverage. It'll be a watch along for the NFL draft, any type of draft that Rob feels deems to do anything like that. We have some people interested in doing a Sunday football show with like Bluegrass Jeff talking about fantasy football and fantasy sports in general, where with Aaron coming in to co-host, Rob might want to sit in on it and stuff like that. You never know who might pop in.
Yeah. So again, just to wrap up, just want to say thank you, and I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll see you back next week for another show. Peace.